Hey everyone, welcome to Zach and Cat Review Live. I'm super excited to get into this. I haven't done one in a long time. This is a movie that made you live stream where I get a fellow movie lover, a fellow movie tuber from the community, and we just go down the movies that influenced them and has shaped their cinematic taste. And I'm glad and proud and honored to have 80s kids from the 90s on the channel for the first time. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. I'm glad to have you on. We've been prepping for this for a couple weeks now. You've been changing your list, checking it twice, making sure it's naughty or nice. Got to drop a little holiday spirit in there. And we've got your final list here. And when I was making the graphics of this thing, I was like, okay, I see some things in here I haven't seen before. I see some things where I'm surprised that they're in here. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. And to get right into it. We have a collector movie man in the chat, someone that's done one of these before. He says, "Hey Zach and 80s kids from the 90s. What's up, Collector Movie
Oh,
Man?"
hey, Collector Movie Man.
And then we also got Cal L Daily. What's up? Thank you for joining the live chat. And Collector Movie said, "Hey Zach, just a quick question. Are you going to check out my live stream tonight? Hopefully I get a chance to. I think you're doing it at like 11 o'clock. We should be done by then. We shouldn't be going that long. But yeah, just want to apologize in advance if I have any technical issues with sound or like my video messing up. My internet's been messing up. Hopefully I get it fixed soon, but we should be smooth for the most part. So let's get right into the first part, and that is going to be your childhood. Look at all the little kitties. And the first movie that we have up for your childhood that you're going to talk about, and you're going to explain to me why it influenced you so much. And I was shocked because this is Back to the Future 2, not one, but 2. Explain to me why Back to
All
the
right,
Future 2 is so impactful for you.
this is actually the first one I saw.
Oh, okay.
I was like 11 or 12, and I was in church and every on Sunday, and every day I went there, which was on Sunday, they would always play this little clip of Doc Brown saying, "Marty, we gotta get back to the future. It's the kids." And I'm like, oh, this has to be a movie. Where's it from? I want to see this. And my dad is the one that introduced me to this movie. So we went up to Half Price Books, and he got me the trilogy, the
Oh,
original.
nice.
Yeah. Um, this did come with a booklet with all the special features and stuff, but I lost that. So you know, but what I love about this movie is seeing future, which we never got for the most part. I mean, we got these smartphones,
Yeah, we did
but
definitely get that.
um, so like I just love that whole hoverboard sequence. And the fact that Michael Jackson had his own restaurant sounds pretty cool. And
Yeah,
the
that does sound
the
pretty cool.
the plot pretty cool too because um Marty sees this almanac book, right, that he uses to get money. And apparently um even if Marty had brought it back, he would not have become rich because I've been watching a few Back to the Future um, theories and stuff on how it actually all went down. But yeah,
Yeah.
the fact that here's here's the interesting thing. So in the present day, we
Hmm.
get to see Biff as hi Marty, and then when Marty is in the DeLorean for a brief second, we get the real Biff,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, so Biff is somehow deep in there still, the real Biff, and what I find interesting in the future, he's like he was when he was in the first movie, the 50s, you know? So
Yeah.
I've always wondered, how did Biff go from being the goofy guy to back to being his older self? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and that was always mystery. But the part that I love the most um, is when Biff tells Marty um, about how he got rich in the first place. And
Mm.
what I love is how Marty outsmarts the guys by jumping over to the next stairwell and then running back up. And then he gets confronted by Biff, and he just jumps off and he's saved by Doc, who coincidentally shows up at the right time.
Of course. Movie magic.
Yep.
What would you
Uh,
say about this movie? Was this one of your first movies that you saw that was a time travel?
first movie about time travel. Yeah. hmm
Yeah. And did it like influence your way where you like sought out other sci-fi films?
Um. Well, like, let's see. Um. Well, it kind of influenced me to get more into that '80s genre. You know what I mean?
Okay. 80s kids from the 90s. Okay.
Yeah.
This is it got your name. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah. So like I ain't actually. So like when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is cool. You know.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day we get all this stuff. 'Cause- 'cause I'll tell you that I went. What shocked me is that after of course in the first movie, George, you know, teaches Biff a lesson, right? He has the courage to stand up and stuff. In the second one, that gets changed a bit because even though he did stand up, like Biff got taught a lesson and stuff. Well, his future self came and gave him the almanac book, and then sometime later he murdered George, which I was like shocked when I found out that happened in the second movie. So like I always see it as a because believe it or not, back I still think Back to the Future tells time travel the best way. At
Mm,
at least at least one of the movies for me.
that
Um,
does. Gotcha. Let me see
yeah,
what the comments are saying. We got Butts Unplugged. Haven't seen you in a while. Always
I
hilarious name to
like the
read. How are you doing,
profile.
man? Yeah, Optimus Prime. He says sound really good. I appreciate that. Hey, Michael, aka Mr. Awesome, said, "Hey Zach, 80s kid, happy holidays. Happy holidays to you too. Hell yeah, back to Collector Movie Man's a fan." Jason Entertainment said, "Hey guys, how's it going? So glad to see our boy 80s kid. Nice."
What's up, Jason?
My favorite thing was the flying cars. I keep on saying to my mom, "Where's the flying cars? We should have these by now."
Exactly, but I don't think it's best for humans to fly cars.
No, we don't even do it good on the ground, so I don't think
No.
in the sky it's gonna be any good. Um, hey, Zach Mine Talks Movie. I'm actually saying your name correctly now. Saying what's up to us. That's awesome scene from Back to Future 2. I felt the same way. Back to the Future reintroduced movie magic into my life.
Yeah.
And Tank Kramer, 1/3 of the spoiler kid. Okay, let's get into the next film from your childhood. And this one, I didn't even know this was a movie. I watched the TV show, but I never watched the movie. I didn't know this existed. But Lightyear, Star Command, The Adventure Begins. Talk about this very underrated, underseen film.
Okay, so I was about like what 4, 3. I don't know. But all I remember is I would be in the basement on, and yeah. So I would be in the basement, and you know how we had those back in the day. We had those big chunky TVs that
Oh
would
yeah, with the antennas.
not the antenna, but they were just like massive looking, and some had their own built-in stands to TV, like they were
Mm.
heavy, extremely heavy. Anyways, so I had the VHS. Well, this is not my original one, but you know, I got my VHS and I watched that repeatedly nonstop. So I even had some of the McDonald's toys. So like, by the way, okay, so you know how there are hardcore Star Wars super fans?
Yeah,
I'm a hardcore Buzz Lightyear fan. See, look at
nice.
this guy, man. See,
Uh, That's amazing.
yeah. So you can tell, but so basically, Buzz Lightyear is what introduced me to sci-fi, not Star Wars.
Okay.
And also, I had the DVD. This is not my original copy either. But basically, I love the fact that in the movie they have Tim Allen's voice, and and then the and then the cartoon, his voice gets replaced with Patrick Warburton. You know, voice of Kronk.
Oh, okay.
And basically, when I think of Buzz Lightyear, this is the movie I think of. Like
Mm,
that type of lore, like whenever I've been to Disney World, as a matter of fact, I was watching Disney World videos and stuff recently, and on the Buzz Lightyear ride, when they show Star Command, they still use the Star Command model from the movie and cartoon.
nice. Yeah,
So what? Yeah. Also, Zurg is awesome in this movie, and
yeah.
yeah, I
Always
mean,
big fan of Zurg.
in the beginning of the movie, he's this ruthless guy. Like, what I love is when the little bugs keep are nervous about what their master's gonna think. So, like, a they get afraid when the door opens and it's just another one of his henchmen, the bug creature. And what's funny is they go, "Did he like it?" And the other guy says, "Hang on, let me go check." And then um, he comes back and they're like about to be afraid, and he says, "What should I? How should I word it?" or something like that. And then they tell him to do something, and then they come back and they're like, "Oh great, now what?" And then it's Zurg holding the bug, and
Nice.
you see him being all ruthless. But I love so what makes this movie so special is that a lot of Buzz's character influenced how I am in a
Okay.
way. So like
And what
Buzz was
aspects would you say?
all right. So like basically courage and adventurous and always following the rules for the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Some rules you break.
Not really, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there are times where Buzz is like, I'm gonna have to find my way out of this situation. What I liked about it is that they treated them like space cops. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so. So here's a fun fact: Tad Stones directed this movie, who you might be familiar with because he did Darkwing Duck.
Ooh, I love Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. So like that that's one of the reasons why I think it's so good. Also, for some, so here's the thing I never understood: why Pixar did not think that was the great interpretation of Buzz Lightyear, like the actual thing, like because like the cartoon and the movie, I always thought were pretty cool. Like that's how I pictured Buzz, and so yeah, that whole plot twist where warp dark matter, Buzz's former partner, is actually a bad guy this whole time, Agent Z. And what I loved when he becomes Agent Z, Zurg says, I shall call you Agent Z. And then Agent Z says, that's stupid. And then Zurg gets all upset. And then the bugs say, he really likes that name. And he goes, Agent Z, I love that name. But what I also, one of my favorite, okay, so there are a few scenes I like. When, and one line is where he says, where Buzz says, you're good, but I'm better. And then the other thing I like is when they're talking about getting a nose ring, and and he said, I'm not getting a nose ring. No one's getting a nose ring. And he says, why not? XR says, why not? Because, and then Buzz says, because nose rings are for punks, little mister. So like, uh,
Right.
XR, XR and Booster are what also make this movie work. So like if I had to choose, I would watch this all day. Like if I had to keep, if I had to keep any movie, this would be the one I would have to keep.
That would be the one. That makes the most sense because it has your probably one of your favorite characters of all time, if not your favorite character, influence your morality and how you make choices, and also introducing you to sci-fi, which when we go down this list further, we can see that sci-fi is a big part of your personality. So before we go on to the next movie, let me go into the comments real quick because I know some people asked you questions. Let's see. So Butts Unplugged was we're just wondering how we were. How are you feeling now that you're in the
Oh,
live
I'm
stream?
doing great.
That's good. I'm doing well. I've been excited to do this all day, so that's great. Collector Movie Man hasn't seen the movie, so now he has a good suggestion to do.
Okay, so
He said,
it's very hard to find. Like it's not on Disney Plus, which I thought was weird.
"Mm, okay." He said, "I know what TV you're talking." It's weird that certain Disney stuff is still not on there. It's probably a licensing issue,
I know,
but
right?
he says, "I know." Hmm?
Yeah, like we don't even have that Tarzan cartoon from the early 2000s.
Oh wow, you just brought that memory back. I forgot about that. Holy crap. I know what your TV you're talking about, 80s kids from the 90s. I used to have those as well. Me too. I used to have the big back TVs. Buzzer Plug has it on DVD as well. Hey, Malcolm says Buzz Lightyear is the coolest Disney hero of all time.
Oh, he's a
Nice.
goat. He's a goat, in my opinion.
Tank says awesome pick. The show and the movie was awesome. I remember watching this in 2000. Wayne Knight Newman was Zurg. It was a great voice cast for sure.
Yeah.
But Unplugged says he's gonna rewatch Lightyear now. He thought Darkwing Duck was a classic, and he didn't know that Tad Stone directed it. So you just put Tank Kramer onto something.
Yeah.
Collective Movie has a question for you. He says, 80 Kids from the 90s. Have you ever watched any of the Star Trek movies or Star Trek TV shows?
I've seen all six of the original movies. The Wrath of Khan is my favorite one. And I'm a Trekist, so I prefer the original series.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I love Star Trek as well. But I
Yeah.
was mostly on the TV shows, not the movies. Hey, can I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, the Marvel and DC Marshlands. Welcome to the live stream. Appreciate you being here. He said, as far as movies from my childhood, two come to mind: Wizard of Oz from 1939 and the original Pumpkinhead. Wizard of Oz was my first movie ever, and Pumpkinhead was my first horror movie. Oh, that's so dope.
Oh yeah. Wizard of Oz is
And
great.
Butts Unplugged said, I have the Tarzan TV on VHS. Nice. Here's a Tarzan
Nice.
TV show on VHS. Speaking of movies that probably was on VHS, we're gonna be talking about the Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. This is a film that is on a lot of people's list. Like almost everybody that I've interviewed so far has Empire Strikes Back on. Tell you this kid is on. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. I can hear you.
Why Empire Strikes Back?
All right. So okay. So like this I was like 7 and I started seeing Star Wars being advertised for a new movie that would be coming out less than a year, right? So
Mm.
so like um I want to know what Star Wars was. So I asked my dad, and he knew the right movie to show me. And ever
Mm.
since then, I've been hooked. I've watched this movie a lot. Like, I love this movie. I love the scene where um Han says, "Why, she just confessed her true feelings for me." And then Leia goes, "Why, you stuck up, half witted, scruffy looking nerf herder." And then, yeah, so there's that scene. And then, I, I just like how Han story and character was in that movie. And then, on Luke's side of things, it was very interesting to hear about the Force and the Jedi. And I gotta say, I love Yoda. Yoda is one of my favorite characters. Mm. Away, put
Nice.
your weapon. I mean, you no harm. I have
That's
a
a good Yoda.
question. Why are you here? Yeah. Uh, I, I I love this. Okay, so you know how Yoda is going through all of Luke's things? That was me as a toddler.
He was all over the place, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So like yeah, and what I like most is how Luke is fighting a force vision of Darth Vader, and Luke wins, but he sees his face in the mask.
Mm.
And then
Foreshadowing.
and yeah, and then the whole battle on Cloud City was awesome, and Boba Fett was cool. He didn't say much. That's what made him cool. Wearing that mask, all stoic and stuff, in the spurs, man. And Lando is the coolest in the
That
galaxy.
was great.
You gotta
So
have
with
it.
your love for sci-fi being started with Buzz, you love Back to the Future as well, and now Star Wars being another sci-fi film. What about Empire Strikes Back influenced you so much compared to the other two movies we already talked about?
All right, so it's Luke's character really that I identify with, because like you know Luke, like he loves his friends that he's met along the way, but there's just some part of him that feels like he's different from the rest of them. You know what I mean? Like he has to
Yeah.
go and figure out who he is and stuff. And what I love is when Yoda says, "Teach him, I cannot," and Luke is whining about why he can't train, and then Yoda says, "He is too old," and I'm like, "All right." So there is the old Jedi regime in him still. Yeah, and this is where I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think the old ways are gonna work anymore for the Jedi. You know,
Yeah. Gotta upgrade it.
like that's what made Luke such a great example of what a Jedi should be. Like, yeah, sure, he wasn't like um 3 years old trained. No, Ben Kenobi watched over him for like 19 years, and then you know Luke wanted to learn about his heritage. He was told from a certain point of view that his father was killed by Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So so when so when I first watched that, I'm like, so by the way, Empire was the first Star Wars movie I ever watched. Um,
Hmm. So you
but
didn't
so
see A
like
New Hope yet?
no, so when I watched this, I'm like, is he telling the truth? Is he really Luke's father? What's going on here?
I know there's a lot of people who felt like that when this movie first came out, and now that's like a pop culture trope that they use all the time. So I asked the chat, is Empire Strikes Back the I gave the options. It said best Star Wars movie, top 5, top 10, and it's pretty split. 40% top 5, 40% for top 10, and then 20% for best Star Wars movie. So most people have it in their top 5, top 10 Star Wars films, but it's interesting that is not the best one to everybody because most of the time people feel like it's the best. Where would you rank Empire Strikes Back amongst all the Star Wars films?
One or two. That okay. For me, in terms of nostalgia, one. But two, if we're talking about my experience in the theater, um, would be yeah. In this case, you know what? I think I'm gonna go with number two. Number two.
That's strong. A strong placing. Strong placing. Let's see what the chat has to say before we move on to the next film. Oh yeah, next film. Clegg Movie said, I am scared of Wizard of Oz, but after seeing Wicked, I've been really tempted to watch the original Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I have
Nice.
not seen Wicked yet. No spoilers.
Yep. I haven't seen it yet either. Empire Strikes Back is my all-time favorite Star Wars, and Return of the Jedi is my second favorite, and Revenge of the Sith is my third favorite, and New Hope is his fifth favorite. Okay. Marvel DC Marshland says it's a gorgeous movie, stunning visuals, and effects for being in the late 1930s. Yes, old movie that holds up. But Unplugged has the original release of Star Wars Episode 4 on VHS.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
he said, I have all the original Star Wars movies, including the prequel movies on 4K. Nice.
Nice.
Tan Kramer is one of those people that voted for Empire Strikes Back being the best Star Wars movie.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Collective Movie Man says, I like Han Solo. He's my all-time favorite. But Unplugged. It says 12:30 a.m. in the UK right now for him. It's time for him to go to bed. I appreciate you being in here and sharing experience with us and letting us know what you got on physical media because you know I always love that. You have a good night, and I'll see you next time. The best scene is Empire Strikes Back when Luke finds out Darth Vader is his father.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he said, I voted for Empire Strikes Back to be the best Star Wars movie. Nice. So next up is another Star Wars movie. And it's gonna be to the talk about Revenge of the Sith.
Commander Cody, the time has come. Execute Order 66. I love that movie. This is the first Star Wars movie I saw in theaters.
Oh, nice.
So, um, I was like 8 years old in second grade, right? It was like maybe 30 or 20, maybe 35 minutes until I got out of school. My mom got me out early to see this movie in theaters, and I love this movie from beginning to end. Like, this movie
Mm,
answered so much of my questions that I had after watching Empire several times.
yeah.
And I thought the first half of the movie, Anakin was pretty cool. And then he kind of turns into the opposite of cool. And that's where Obi-Wan Kenobi took the cool position. You know,
Yeah, you love your good guys.
oh yeah. And so what was so cool about Anakin is that he didn't always follow the rules. He was kind of a head first type of guy,
Yep.
which I can relate to sometimes. Um, but one thing I thought was interesting, Obi-Wan Kenobi is the guy that does that cool crash landing thing where he crash lands and before it lands he jumps out and wipes out the droids. And Anakin's the one that's all calm and then just gets out. That was
Yeah.
interesting how 1 second Anakin was being the big shot, and then it went to Obi-Wan Kenobi
Or just
doing
switch.
the, yeah. Um, I love the humor in this movie too, where R2 is using his jets to light the oil on fire to get rid of the super battle droids. Oh, my one of my favorite parts where the super battle droids are bickering, and he says, "Right, nothing. Get back to work." Um, and then there's this one part where where um where they're caught in the little tractor beam or whatever in when they're trying to rescue the Chancellor, and or was this in the elevator? Anyways, Anakin tells Obi-Wan Kenobi just to say, "Have patience," and he's like, "Okay, patience." And then later on, they're in the elevator, and then they wipe out all the battle droids, and then Anakin gets back in, and see, Obi-Wan didn't know who was about to come in, and he was about to light up his lightsaber, and then and Anakin's like, "Nice," and Obi-Wan's like, "I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything." See, right there, that's another foreshadow that they're about to become enemies.
Mm, yeah.
By the
Showed it
way,
early on.
I thought this was very clever how Palpatine planned out the whole war, the Clone Wars, you know, having that as a distraction, befriending Anakin, treating him like a son. And then this was the moment where he's okay. So I've actually read the book that the that gives you kind of a scenario on what's actually going on. So like Palp okay. So Palpatine um is the one that planted those nightmares about Padme into Anakin through the Force. And so throughout the movie, Anakin has those nightmares and he goes towards Palpatine instead of trusting his own Jedi, you know? And this is kind of where Pal- where Anakin falls. Because, all right, no. So number one rule: you should never be possessive. That is what happened to Anakin. He was very possessive of Padme, and well, look where that got him.
Possessive of people and very entitled, and he thought that he deserved everything just cause.
Yeah, and I don't. I mean, this also has to do with the fact that in episode one, he got free, but his mom wasn't, and then you know he didn't get to see his mom again for another 10 years, and the Jedi were kind of cold to Anakin throughout his life. So when he
Yeah.
met Padme, which was also orchestrated by Palpatine, that was to get Anakin weakened a bit by Padme's looks and stuff, and that right there, when Anakin lost his mom to the Tusken Raiders, that's when he truly started heading towards the dark side. And,
Mm.
well, now he's afraid to lose her, and he's willing to do anything, including joining the dark side. Now, the Clone Wars kind of gives you a better example, both versions. Um, but there's no excuse for what Anakin did. I mean, you kind of feel bad for him when he gets burnt in the lava pit. When he
Yeah.
does the thing that Obi-Wan told him not to do because Obi-Wan had done that move decades earlier. So yeah, he became Darth Vader, and I kind of like that scene when he became Darth Vader, including the no part. Yes, I know a lot of people don't like it when he does the
The
big
iconic no.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it made sense.
Very big, sad, and funny.
And then,
I have a question. In terms of we have Empire Strikes Back on the list, we have Return of the Jedi on the list. Um, Two questions about these movies comparing to each other. Which one influenced you more, and in what ways did they influence you in different ways?
okay, so Empire influenced me more, but at the same time, so did Revenge of the Sith. Okay, so I want to say it was Obi-Wan Kenobi's um, heroic characteristics that kind of influenced me. So like the
Hmm.
way, so, so like I just think it was pretty cool how Obi Wan Kenobi seems to be a great lightsaber duelist and stuff, and Obi Wan Kenobi's always been the sassy Jedi. You know what I mean? Ones with the jokes.
Yeah,
He's like the Star Wars version of Spider-Man.
that's a good comparison.
Yeah. What? And then Anakin, in the beginning of the movie, is kind of like how, in some ways, kind of like how I am. Like when he's like head first type of things in the beginning of the movie, and at the same time calm. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. That whole duel on Mustafar was awesome. And I thought Obi-Wan Kenobi was smart by jumping off and then going, "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. You underestimate my power. Don't try it." And then what I like is that at the end of the movie, they played the A New Hope theme song, and then you see Obi-Wan Kenobi watching him from afar. And then you see Darth Vader and Palpatine looking over what will become the Death Star. So, like, Revenge of the Sith is just a movie that I will turn on and next year is the 20th anniversary. So like I'm gonna be having a big throwback year for me next year. So looking forward.
That's dope. Let's look
Yeah.
into the comments before we get into the next film. But let's see. Front tracks. Oh, got a question from Malcolm, aka Mr. Awesome. He says, "80s kids from the 90s. Have you seen Hot 1, 2, and 3? And which one is your if you have?"
No, I have not seen any RoboCop movies.
No RoboCop movies for you?
Nope. I've liked the idea of it, but never seen one.
Gotcha. Okay, so there you go, Malcolm. He has not seen RoboCop just yet, but maybe it's just a suggestion for you to watch that classic series, 1, 2, and 3. I saw this movie when I was in high school, like 10th grade. I went on a midnight release. There were people dressed as Jedi, people dressed up as Darth Vader, people having lightsaber duels. Awesome. I always love
Yeah,
those.
yeah. I had a ton of the toys from Avenger Sith. Not all of them, not a whole lot either, but I do remember having the Anakin Vader lightsaber, which would change from blue to red, and
Nice.
I also had a Darth Vader piggy bank. So it was a Darth Vader figurine that was connected onto this little base. And every time you would enter a quarter into the base, it would play his theme song, and the
Oh, that's
lightsaber
so
would light up.
dope.
Yeah, I yeah, I had it at my dad's house. So like and years later, when I went over to my dad's once, the lights, the bank fell over and then the blade snapped off. So you know,
Oh,
you
it
can't
happens.
have you can't have good things all the time, I guess.
No.
Um, but I also, so, yeah, I also had some of the 7-inch action figures where you would squeeze their legs and they would do an action feature. So,
Oh, nice.
yes, back then when George Lucas owned the rights to Lucasfilm, he knew how to market stuff. As a matter of fact, he made sure that everyone in the movie got an action figure. And what's funny is back then he really didn't care about spoilers.
Yeah, because it didn't spread much. The internet wasn't so accessible back then, so you wouldn't get spoiled unless you looked for them. Um,
Exactly.
Malcolm says, funny story, I still have my episode 3 movie ticket in my yearbook because it was the first Star Wars movie with my two brothers and sister. That's
Oh,
so
that's
dope. I have some
cool.
of my movie tickets still too. Do you have any tickets from when you were younger?
I don't know if I was younger, but I do know I have a lot of movie tickets.
You do? Okay, that's dope. Tent Kramer says Return of the Sith is the best prequel. Um, I'm actually Star Wars Legends books. I'm actually reading the Star Wars Legend books right now. Started all the way back and how the Jedi became, how they grow, and then I started reading more into Sith stories, and now I'm up to date. Nice.
Yeah, so like that's been the goal for me for the new year is that I'm gonna be start reading more Legends material because that's the Star Wars I actually grew up with. So it was all six George Lucas movies and then the expanded universe. So I have not read all the books. Like I've read through them in the libraries and stuff, like for the comic books. But recently, last year or the year before, I was listening to a few different Legends type of audio books. I didn't finish any of them, but they sounded way better than the sequel trilogy. It was the one that was about Luke and Mary Jade Skywalker going up against um uh, what what's the mother of the Mortis gods, whatever her name is.
Oh, I don't
Um,
know.
well, anyways, she was a villain in those books, so
Mm,
it just sounded way better in my opinion. So yeah.
gotcha. Let me see. Through the lens. What's up, man? Welcome to the live stream. Hope you're doing well. And you guys, if you're watching, drop some favorite movies that you watched in your childhood, meaning from age zero, well, not zero, obviously, age 1 to 12. That's your childhood. That's before you become a teen. That's exciting. And we're going to be moving into one of my favorite movies of all time. And obviously one of yours and one that's influential, and that's
All right. So I've been a Spider-Man fan since I was, well, for as long as I can remember. Like, look, I even have this canvas I got recently.
Oh
So
wow,
I'm a
that's dope.
big Spider-Man fan. And I'm a very picky Spider-Man fan too. Hang on, let me get that back on. Okay. So yeah, I like my Spider-Man to swing through New York City in the way they did in this first Sam Raimi movie. Like that movie was just so spectacular, you know. Um, pun intended. Because you know, he was just a guy I could relate to. You know, I mean, I saw this movie in theaters when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Loved it. Um, I remember um,
5.
the
Wow.
best part about those Sam Raimi movies were the endings on how Spider-Man would just swoop through New York City and you'd see all the taxis and stuff. It was just
Yeah.
so
New York felt
cool.
alive.
And oh, that movie had an awesome theme song with Nickelback.
Yeah. The hero.
Yeah, yeah.
If
I
I could
love
sing, I would
that
sing it.
song.
Hey, save me. I'm not gonna run away.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, great,
That
great, great theme song. Love that song.
yeah. I mean, I like okay, so I actually love that design for the Green Goblin.
It was so scary.
I thought he looked pretty cool. One thing I always liked is when he stops Green Goblin at the Thanksgiving parade, and that's what I love about this movie. This is a movie you can watch during the holiday season, especially Thanksgiving, because there is like a 15 to 30 minute Thanksgiving scene.
Yeah. That's integral to the plot, which is great. It's not just there to be there.
Exactly. And what I thought was so creepy, but also funny and interesting at the same time, is when Norman is about to eat the turkey and Aunt May just goes, "Ah, Norman!" And then Norman starts putting the two knives together and doing this. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, something's up with this guy. And
Something
then
wrong with him.
yeah, the way he figured out who Spider-Man was awesome, and
Yeah.
um, I I thought it was pretty cool. Um, how he was able to defeat the Green Goblin for the first time. I like the part where he says, "Well, meet again, Spider-Man," and then
That was a good
uh,
imitation of the voice.
yeah, and then the phone call.
Oh,
MJ and I are gonna have one heck of a time. Um, what's interesting when he's about to drop her, that's actually a reference to when he drops Gwen Stacy in the comic
Casey.
books.
Yeah.
And yeah, that I thought it was pretty funny when he was wrestling the guy too. bones off.
Macho Man.
Yeah, and then the way he just makes jokes and makes fun of them. And then
Classic Spider.
yeah, and then the way he wins too, and then um, the part, one of the most memorable lines is, "I missed the part where that's my problem."
So I got two questions for you regarding this movie. So the first question is, I've seen a trend here so far in terms of protagonists and how important that is for you and how heroic they are. What about Peter Parker Spider-Man differentiates himself in terms of influence you versus the other, like
All right,
versus like Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan, Marty, and all that?
so the way Toby portrayed um, Peter Parker, I still think is one of the best Spider-Man performances because Peter Parker. Okay, so a lot of people forget Peter Parker is a very awkward character, right? He doesn't have a lot of friends. Harry is the only friend he has, right? And he's had this crush on MJ since he was 6 years old, who doesn't even know who he is until the last year in high school, which says a lot about his character, because like he he really likes MJ, and but he's also this awkward character, like he's trying to help his aunt pay the bills. He's got this new job where his boss is super rude to him, and I love that part where he goes, "It's not slander spoken, print is liable." Um, Jonah Jameson, I don't think anyone else can do him better than J.K. Simmons. Like he was born to play that role. Um, but yeah, like um, Peter, he did the right thing by um, giving up the one thing he wanted the most, so he could be a guardian over New York City. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know,
self-sacrifice. That's all Spider-Man's
yeah.
about.
With great power
Self-sacrifice.
comes great responsibility. I love those words.
Yeah. So the second question I have for you, and I love to answer the first question because Spider-Man is my favorite comic book hero. So I'm glad that you feel that way about him. Parker Spider-Man is. I love Miles Morales too. Um, in terms of superhero movies, is this your first superhero movie you saw in theaters?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. See why it's so influential. Let's see what the chat has to say, and then we're gonna move on to the next movie. Developing my thesis about you right now as we go through this film. Tank Kramer says, got to read Legends. So freaking good. I hate that Kathleen Kennedy said there's no books to pull from. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
not too
Mm.
sure why she feels that way. Let's see. Collective Movie Man says Titanic, Glad Wars episode Strike Empire Strikes Back, Lion King and Aladdin are his favorite movies of all time. He said, I remember my aunt when she lived in New York, she would tell me she would see Tobey Maguire on set of Spider-Man when they were filming in New York. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
He said, oh yeah, the Thanksgiving scene. I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me about that. I might watch it. Nice. And also, I want to thank Collective Movie Man for being a channel member for 4 months. I appreciate your support that everything you do. And also, Collective Movie Man is also a sponsor of this channel because he's always helping me get digital codes away to you guys. And actually, real quick, before I forget, why don't I do that right now? Actually, while I look for that, I'm going to introduce the next movie so you can talk about it. And the next film that was actually the last film of your childhood. We're gonna be going to your now. That is from 13 to 19. And that is the teenage years. Those are some big teenagers. First up is Beetlejuice. Talk about Beetlejuice real quick.
Okay, so I saw this movie for the first time with my dad. It was like during the summer. It was on a weekend. I was about like 16, maybe, give or take. I love this movie. You know, and it was a very interesting movie. I mean, not only is it a great movie to watch on Halloween, but it's also a great movie to
Mhm.
watch all year round too. Like, um, Alec Baldwin and Michael Keaton and the other actress that were the three main characters, they were awesome in that movie. Like, I thought it was pretty funny how they were trying to scare the neighbors. I mean, the new people that moved into their house, and they're like, eh. And then the girl who is the mom in Stranger Things, Winona Ryder's character, Lydia.
Yeah, love her.
Um, I thought her character was pretty cool, but I love how Michael Keaton portrayed Beetlejuice. Yeah, yeah. I could uh, I could do my Beetlejuice voice all day if I wanted to. But um, yeah, uh, I just like that movie. I think it's a good comfort movie to watch. You know, which
Yeah.
is why I do
So I
not.
noticed that. Sorry, continue. Go on.
Which is why when I saw Beetlejuice, I was like, dear goodness, what have they done? I am not the biggest fan of that sequel. I know some people like it,
Okay.
which I'm okay with people liking the movie. Um, but for me, I, it was my reaction to that movie, to Beetlejuice, was the same way I felt about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire,
Mhm.
which was a movie I did not, which was a movie I was looking forward to, but it was very underwhelming, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean. I felt the same way about Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
So I noticed that, looking at your list, there are no horror movies other than Beetlejuice. Um, how do you feel about the horror genre in general? And why do you like Beetlejuice the most out of all the horror films that you possibly see?
Okay, so horror is not typically genre I'm into. There's
Yeah, that's fair.
just a lot of knives and machetes and a lot of blood and a lot of unnecessary swearing and well, I mean,
Mm,
it kind of creates a belief system where it's like, okay, what movies do I want to watch that'll give me a positive outlook on life and have a good future versus a horror movie, which is about a guy like Jason going around with a mask and stuff on Halloween. You know what I mean?
so what
Like,
about more like straight up classic horror films like Jason, Freddy, and Michael, like the slashers, and more like elevated horror films that've been coming out, like Hereditary or a Midsummer or something that's a little different that has more of a message and it's not just about blood and guts.
oh well, see, I've never watched a horror movie except for maybe Gremlins.
Okay, gotcha. So would you give other horror movies a chance if it's not just about like a killer killing people, if it has more of a message to it?
I, well, I mean, prob- probably because I do like Halloween, and I do like some of those type of Halloween movies, just not in that R rating, if you know what I mean, like too
That's fair.
gory and stuff. Like that.
So it got to be tamer in
Yeah,
terms of the language and gore.
yeah, yeah. Not the biggest fan of all that stuff.
That's fair. That's totally fair. There's a lot of people who don't like horror, so that makes sense. Before we continue, let me see what the chat because I see a couple people jumped in the chat. CC, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you all the time. L, haven't seen and talked to you in a long time. Thank you for being in the live chat as well. Hope you're doing well. And Cal Daly is back. How are you doing? Saying hi to everybody. Love how everybody's talking to each other. He said, I've never seen Beetlejuice, but I've seen Bishop in Juice, though. You and your little clever ways. I love Juice, though. I love Beetlejuice and I love Juice. 80s to 90s, which movie do you like better? You already answered this. Beetlejuice or Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. You like Beetlejuice more. Beetlejuice isn't my favorite, but it's a straight up classic. I agree.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad. I don't like Jason either, but I do like Scream. Okay. That one's a little bit more lighthearted and fun. Ghostbusters is soft horror. I'm sure he watches that.
Oh, I love Ghostbusters. Love it.
Okay, so you can deal with PG-13 horror.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna
If
find a
it's
list for you. I'm gonna find a list for you for some PG-13 horror. We're gonna get some good horror movies for you.
all right.
Hey,
Oh,
how's it
hey,
broadcast?
Jonah.
What's up?
Oh, I love my new apartment. It's great. Yeah. As you can
When did you
see,
move in?
okay, so I moved in around around the beginning of October or late September, but the beginning of October is when I moved out, and I'm like here now. So yeah, love
Nice.
it.
It's more spacious.
Oh yes, like this is the biggest room I've ever had.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And let's go into the next film. And this is going to be the first MCU film that we talk about here, and one that I think is highly and severely underrated. And that is Captain America, the first Avenger. So,
So
this is a movie that a lot of people don't talk about, right? Like a lot of people forget about it. A lot of people don't bring it in their top tens. Um, so I was really excited for you because I actually like this movie a lot. I was really excited to hear you talk about this. Tell me why this one is on your list versus other MCU films.
all right, all right. I was introduced to the bigger version of Marvel through the 2010 2011 Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon on
Hey,
Disney XD.
love that show.
It
Love
had
that show.
such a great theme song. I wish it did not get canceled after a season two. Um,
Yeah, me too.
'Cause I saw all the canceled stories and stuff, and like, man. Um, So like it introduced me to really great lore of Marvel, and it introduced me to Captain America, and then and I was in getting into Marvel at the right time because this new Captain America movie was coming out, and I'm like, oh, I want to see that, and it was awesome, man. Like I loved the cinematography in this movie. I loved how everything
Yes.
looked, and I love Chris Evans did a great job as Captain America.
Perfect. That's Steve Rogers.
Yes, like I just liked the way he portrayed the character. He's because Steve Rogers is such a relatable character. Because one thing I relate to Steve Rogers is Steve Rogers doesn't like bullies.
Hmm.
So like, yeah. So that's one thing I relate to, and he did what he thought was the right thing to do, and that's how he became Captain America. And he, that's the difference between him and Red Skull, because Red Skull wanted power, which turned his skull red and stuff, and made him look like a freak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where Steve Rogers, he didn't care about power. He just wanted to fight for his country.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and Tommy Lee Jones was a great character in this movie too.
Yeah. I liked him. He was a general, right?
Yeah, and then Blackie was a cool character in this movie.
Yeah. Sebastian Stan. Yeah.
So like Joe Johnston was such a great director with this movie, and what I'm so this is one thing I love about the Marvel movies, which I miss from most Marvel movies today, is how grounded they were. You know, like there were still
Mm,
fantastical elements, but it was very grounded the way the story was.
yeah.
Um, and the final scene where he wakes up and it's in the present day. I thought was pretty cool. And I gotta say, that was the first movie I saw with Nick Fury.
Oh, so you saw this before you saw Iron Man?
Yes, I didn't watch Iron Man until 2019.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. So you saw the MCU movies. So this is a big important film because it got you into the MCU. Introduced you to Marvel live action, kind of outside of Spider-Man. And another, it makes sense now that I'm talking to you. It makes sense why you would gravitate towards Steve Rogers based on all the other characters you talked about because he is very similar to Buzz Lightyear in terms of morality, how he cares about the peoples around him, his duty. They're very similar characters. So that's really, really dope to see. So speaking of, let's take a little break of Captain America. I got the digital code here. Whoever redeems it first can get it. It's on the screen right now. It's for Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So this is perfect timing.
Oh, that's nice.
Um, so take that as you will. Captain America for Winter Soldier digital code. One of the best MCU movies, probably the best Captain America movie in my opinion. I really, really love this film. So yeah, take a chance to get digital code now. Especially if you
And
don't
that
a type of person that has the Disney Plus. What are you gonna say, 80s kid?
and that movie, Winter Soldier, is so
Hmm.
much like the comic counterpart, minus Iron Man, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very close to the comics. So if you haven't redeemed or taken the code down yet, it is going away. Thank you, Collective Movie Man, as always, for sponsoring the channel with digital codes. Everybody go subscribe to him. He actually has a live stream in, I think, 3 hours. So definitely go check that out. And let's see what the people in the comments have to say. And I appreciate everybody coming in and out, dropping in and stuff like that. I appreciate all of you guys. Haven't done one of these in a while. I still have a community Q&A live stream coming. I'm just trying to plan when to do it. So be on the lookout for that. That's gonna be fun. He's saying hi. Yes, I got the digital codes. Hey, Nanette, one of my beloved channel members. Welcome to the live stream. What's up? I like Captain America First Avenger, but I like Winter Soldier better. Yeah, I like Winter Soldier better, but I still love First Avenger a lot.
Movies are subjective. Yes.
Yeah. As you said that, oh no, maybe my biggest disappointment of the MCU was this and Black Panther 2 were huge letdowns for me. Yeah, he's not a big fan of First Avenger, but we've had arguments about that. But I do agree with you in terms of the cinematography and the texture of the film. It feels old school in a way that other MCU films don't. Captain America 1 is so underrated. Simple story, but always fun to revisit. I agree.
Yeah, and then I've yeah yeah I'm like when I've talked to people, there's some people who don't like Captain America. I'm like, why? And and it's the actor. I'm like, I think. See, I think for some people who are into Marvel movies just for movies, well, when they say that the character is ruined for them because of the actor, well, you have to you have to think, you have to realize they've never read the comic book of the source material. where his personality is like that. So, like, you can't, like, I guess what I'm saying is people like what they like. Some people like what they don't. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, of course, and everyone's opinion is fair, and subjective. Collective Movie says, "Hey, '80s kids from the '90s, what Marvel project are you looking forward to in 2025? Captain America 4, Thunderbolts, or Fantastic Four?"
Fantastic Four and Captain America 4 because of this guy.
Hey, Red Hulk.
Yes. So, again, Earth's Mightiest Heroes introduced me to the Red Hulk, and ever since Civil War came out, I've been wanting them to do the Red Hulk. They're finally
Mm,
bringing him, and in the right time too, because we need a brute, savage Hulk back in
yeah,
the MCU.
we do. We do. It's time to inject that energy. Cal says, "I take Wonder Woman first film over Captain America's first film." I think Wonder Woman's first film is one of the best superhero films, so I can kind of agree with that. I like that film a lot. They're very similar. They're very similar. He said, "What? Winter Soldier's the best act? It's one of the best." I like the Captain America movies. I like that. A lot of people like. They're not like that. Let me next time send me the code. Send me the code. Got me racing for codes. you, sir, you gotta earn codes. No, I'm joking. You miss your lives. Appreciate you. Captain America is my cave. Never, but I get so many love. Hey, so I think my live is going. One
Hang
second.
on, gotta put
StreamYard
my
is messing up for me for some
phone.
reason. You guys say I'm breaking up. All right. Hopefully I'm back now. It says, "Hi Zach, Dragon Movie Guy is in the live stream. Miss you, man. Haven't seen you in a while." Says, "Hi Zach, love the live stream. Fun to see '80s kids from the '90s on your show. Appreciate that." Ooh, how do you like 2024 Barbenheimer, aka Wickadator? I don't like Wickadator. I like Glick better.
Yeah, click sounds better. Click it or
I like
click.
Glick better. Wickadator is too much.
Yeah.
I've only seen one half of Glick so far, and saying that is so crazy. I've only seen one half of Glick so far, and that is Gladiator. My review for Gladiator 2 is out on my channel right now. It came out a couple hours before this live stream. Go check that out to hear my full thoughts. I'm hoping to catch Wicked sometime soon. I wasn't gonna go watch it, but because of all the great reviews, I feel like I'm gonna go check it out just to see it for myself. We missed the Zach lives. Thanks for bringing them back whenever you can. I appreciate that. Yeah, I got this live going. Next weekend, you're gonna see me and Kal-El do K to Z movies where we rank all the movies we saw this month. And then obviously I'm gonna have a community live because I got another 100 subscribers. And I'm gonna have a channel update video coming very, very soon. I'm working on that. And I am quarter way right in through my Return of the King script. So I wrote a Return of the King script to drop that review. I wanted to drop it before Thanksgiving, and then I shared it with one of my colleagues that I like to bounce things off with, and he said it sucked, so I scrapped it. I don't want anything that sucks for you guys. He said, "Hey Zach, '80s kids, I just want to tell you something. Try to see Wicked before December starts because when this December starts, they're going to start sing along versions in the theaters. Oh yeah, that's true. Everybody's going to be singing mad loud in the theaters." I don't like Wonder Woman. I know that's a hot take, but I don't but I don't. I'm very picky on my superhero women more than men. Interesting. Okay. Zach, your connection is bugging. Okay, hopefully I'm back. You said you're really breaking up, Zach. I think I'm been back already. You're back. Okay. Wicked Eater sounds like an adult film. Oh no. Can't believe we made Glick a thing. I can't believe it either, but it's here. I saw somebody call it Gladict, and I was like, no. No, 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 no. We're not calling Gladict. We're gonna keep it Glict. That's what I was thinking as well, Kal-El. My kids are gonna graduate college by the time Zach returns. That's so rude. And honestly, hold on, I'm gonna screenshot that. So when I do my review, I'm gonna put this in there, and your kids are not gonna be graduated. So you expect to see this in my reviews at Cosmic, because how dare you? How dare you? You say you do look great now. Okay, we're getting off track. Let's get to the next film. Oh my God, people just coming for me. This is another teenage film here, and this is a film that I've never seen, but I heard great things about, and that's the Lego Movie.
Oh, so this movie's
Talk about the Lego
great.
Movie.
All right, so I'm not gonna lie. When the first trailer came out, I was a bit like, huh, they're doing a Lego movie? And then as the marketing went on, I got it more interested in it. And then me and my dad went to go see it. I remember because, it was packed. And, well, I don't remember what we got, but a lot of good concession stand food at Cinemark. And this was back during the dark times when we had the chairs before the reclining chairs.
Mhm. Okay.
Before you had to reserve your seat. So they were kind of like the stadium chairs. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I love this movie. Okay, so like, um, my favorite character in the movie are actually three characters: Benny, the astronaut, Emmett, and Good Cop, Bad Cop. So I've always related to Emmett the most, but in terms of other personality aspects, Benny, the astronaut, because all he wanted to do was build a spaceship. They wouldn't let him build a spaceship until towards the very end. I'm glad he got to make a spaceship. And then my favorite scene with Good Cop Bad Cop is when he keeps kicking the trash can and he says, "Darn, darn, darny, darn." And then I like the part where he's playing Good Cop Bad Cop, and he says, "Don't worry, buddy, I believe you." And then he says, "Would you like to water, little buddy?" And he was like, "Yeah, actually, that would be pretty cool." Well, too bad. So, um, I love the first movie. It's still my favorite movie. Now, I was a bit disappointed with the second movie because I waited 4 years and it was kind of anticlimactic as well as predictable a bit. You know what I mean? Zach?
No, remember, I haven't seen it. So I haven't seen
Okay,
the end.
okay, so the second movie, it's okay. It's not great, but it, it's okay. Um, but I'd recommend watching the first movie.
Okay.
That's that's my favorite. And then I love the whole. Oh, my fourth favorite character would have to be President Business, played by Will Ferrell. That guy was pretty funny. Taco Tuesday. I mean, that guy was just funny. Like he literally was a guy that had robots doing all the TV shows and stuff, writing them and stuff. Oh,
Oh,
I guess that kind of did predict the future a little bit, didn't it?
yeah. So what about Lego Movie is because this one's a little different. This is the first animated film in a while. What about Lego Movie influenced your taste so much as a teenager?
Okay, so like I was 17 when this movie came out, um, and well, it got me back into Lego,
Mm, gotcha.
and also this Emmett's a very relatable character for me because like he's like the nobody, like he's friendly to everyone. He always has conversations with these people, but like they all don't really remember him. Like, which I always
Mm,
thought that was a bit sad for Emmett because um, when he's watching the TV, he he's there by himself and he's surrounding him with objects that he calls his friends. So that was pretty sad. And then when he builds a double decker couch so everyone can sit next to each other and be buddies. I always thought that he was the type of guy like me that just wanted friends to hang out with. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. So let's see what's going on in the live chat real quick. I see somebody already says, bruh, Lego movies are fire. Nice.
Yes.
I've never seen a Lego movie. I was more into adult movies when this movie came out. Not adult movies like that, but more mature movies. Okay, that's fair. My favorite is torn between Batman and Ninjago. It's the green
Oh,
for me. I use it every chance I can.
the Lego Batman movie is such a very emotional movie to watch.
Yeah? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She's not voting because she's only seen Lego Batman movie. That's fair. Lego movies are for all ages. I think I was laughing as much, if not more, than my sisters the first time. There you go.
Oh yeah,
It
that
doesn't matter
movie's
how old you
hilarious.
are. I do want to state, people, a lot of people say this, like animated movies are not kid movies. There are kid animated movies and there are adult animated movies and there's animated movies for everyone. So when you say mature, be careful because there are mature animated films, and I think Lego movies are some. My live stream is at 10 o'clock. Hope to see some of you guys there. We'll be showing off some of my new releases I've gotten on physical media during the live stream. Nice. Um, oh, I'm breaking up again. Oh, there we go. Lego movie will always be better with bringing us the song. Everything is awesome. Nice.
Oh gosh, I listened to that song so many times. I don't know how long I listened to it, but when I first listened to it, I listened to it for hours and hours, and I got tired of it,
True
but I
story,
still
CC
love
says. I
it.
sold the internet to the couple that wrote the Everything Awesome song several years back. Oh, wow. Stepping on Legos makes you scorn on any Lego movies.
Yep.
Stepping on Legos is like getting thrown off a cliff. It's not great.
No.
For anyone that didn't know, it's Will Ferrell who voices the man with the yellow hat, all Curious George movies and the TV show. Oh wow, did not know that. CC out here slinging internet 2 for 10. She got that work. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. CC got the plug for the internet. Um, coming up next, is a film that it's very. Hold on, where is it? Hold on. Sorry, I lost track of where my teenage years are. Okay, here we go. That was out before the internet was big, so spoilers wasn't big. We're going to another Star Wars film, and that is the first Star Wars film, A New Hope. So you saw this
Yes.
movie a lot later in life than other people, right? So
Yes.
what influenced you about this movie?
So this So I watched this for the first time when I was about 12, and ever since then I watched it more and more and more throughout my teen years. So that, this is back when George still owned everything. So this was like around my favorite time because also Force Unleashed had just came out.
Mm,
So like I
I
played
like that
those
game.
games and I loved watching this movie a lot, but because it shows where Luke came from, but it also shows how ruthless Darth Vader was, and that introduction was awesome. Like the way there's the rebels against the Empire, and um, then Darth Vader comes out with the um, mu- music in the background, and
Yeah, classic
then
music.
yeah, as a matter of fact, it's one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars, and I got the Lego set of it a while back.
Ooh, that's dope.
Yeah, so like I really love this movie because because one of my favorite lines is well out of many lines in this movie is when I like it when Darth Vader goes, you are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away. And then like that right there shows how villainous Vader is right there, like how scary of a villain. I always thought Darth Vader was a cool villain in my opinion because he was more complex than your other villains.
Yeah.
And and what I relate so much about this movie is again Luke. He comes from the middle of nowhere. He wants to be somebody. Like that's how I felt for a long time. And then
Mm.
Luke meets 3PO and R2, and they introduce him to Ben Kenobi, who's actually Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, so here's the thing I've seen a lot of people complain about is when Obi-Wan Kenobi says he doesn't remember owning R2D2. That's not what he said. He said, I don't remember owning a droid. In which
Mm.
he's kind of telling the truth from a certain point of view because he did not own R2D2, which is what he's telling. The part that he's lying about is that he doesn't remember, he's acting like he doesn't remember R2 with that, the way he's saying it. Like, he's like, what have you been telling him, R2? That type of look.
Yeah.
Um, and I liked how Han is introduced. I like the whole Ponda Baba scene where um they're in there. Um, what I love about this movie, it's a lived-in world, and what I like about Star Wars versus other sci-fi is it's like an ancient civilization of in a galaxy that's also mixed in with sci-fi, and then you got what are basically space dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like it has a very pulpy type of feel to it. You know what I mean?
Pope is a perfect, perfect description of Star Wars.
Yeah, and
Perfect
then
description.
I liked um, the whole scene where the whole scenes where they're on the Death Star, um, and then when Luke is in the X-wing and uh, Darth Vader's like, the Force is strong with this one, and then they blow up Death Star, and then at the very end is my favorite look for the character of Luke Skywalker, where he's rocking the cool yellow jacket.
Yeah. That's my jam.
Yeah, I always thought that was his coolest look. Like, I love his Bestman look, but that yellow jacket look all is very bright color for me, which I like.
Yeah, very superheroic.
Exactly. And what I liked is how Ben Kenobi was more of a teacher or mentor, and Han shot first. Han shot first.
Yeah.
Um,
So I see that you have a lot of Star Wars on your list. We have another Star Wars movie coming later on your list. And I can already tell with A New Hope, it influenced you because you finally got to see the origins of Luke Skywalker after seeing him in Empire Strikes Back before you actually got to see the origins and kind of see where your favorite character came from. And you can even relate more to
yeah,
him. Do you think seeing A New Hope after already seeing Revenge of the Sith and Empire Strikes Back elevated your experiences with those two films? Like because you saw New Hope, now watching those back made them feel better?
yeah. Like A New Hope for me is like it's at number 3 for me.
Okay. It's an important film. Let's see what the chat is saying. Let me end this poll.
Like I don't know if you can see, but you see that box up on the cabinet?
Yeah, I see it.
That is my Lego Cantina set. I still have not
Nice.
built. I'm gonna build that
Nice.
on a nice snow day.
Nanette says, I am proud to say I don't care who knows it. I like watching cartoons and kid movies when I don't feel good. And I think that they benefit anyone because the messages that they have in the movies and TV shows. There's
I
always
agree.
positive messages in those movies and shows.
I've always thought
I
animated movies were for everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely are. They're for everybody. Some people don't like animation, and that's totally fair, but it definitely is for everyone. I have not seen any of these movies, so I'm definitely not voting. Interesting. She says she doesn't like Star Wars. Okay. Not my favorite Star Wars, but almost expect everyone to have it on their list at some point. Empire, Return, Sith for your poll. Uh, uh, well, that wasn't on the poll, sir. He said, I'm gonna let y'all hold Star Wars, never connected with it. That's totally fair as well. Do. They're talking about Star Trek now. Ooh, he said, so Zach, are you and guest, are you a Jedi or a Sith? Which one are you? I'm pretty sure you're a Jedi, right?
Yep, Jedi.
80s Kid said, no, sorry, not 80s Kid. Collective Movie Man said, 80s Kid, did you have a huge crush on Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia?
Nope.
He said nope or yep.
No.
No. He said no, no, no. No huge crushes here. Moving on to the next movie. We did Star Wars, A New Hope, and the last movie of your teenage years is a movie I've never heard of. So I'm interested to hear you talk about this. What about Bob?
All
Talk about
right.
this film.
So I was maybe about 16 or 17 when I watched this movie. Again, I was at my dad's. I think it was 16. Yeah, 16. Um, and I watched I watched this movie with my dad, and I thought it was hilarious. And then
Yeah.
a couple, so like I loved it. And then I
Before
remember,
you get into the moments, can you talk about what the movie's about? Because I'm pretty sure some people don't know about it.
all right. So what about Bob? It's about this guy played by Bill Murray called Bob Wiley. He has a lot of anxiety. So like he's very germophobic. As long as he's in his apartment, he's fine. But then when he gets out in public, that's where all of his phobias come out. And um, he constantly has had different doctors try to help him. They've done really nothing to like nothing's really helped him. And then he makes this appointment with Richard Dreyfuss's character, Dr. Leo Marvin. And Dr. Leo Marvin gets a phone call from one of his own old colleagues from college. And it's Bob's former doctor. And he sent Bob to him because he knew he was the best because of his new book and everything. So, yeah. And then when he gets off the phone, he says, free. So that foreshadows something in the movie that Bob is a bit um, neurotic, I should say.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't like getting in elevators, and
Mhm.
he took the stairs instead, and it was like a lot of stairs he had to walk on. So um, this movie's basically about him reading this new book, Baby Steps, and so like he talks about his problems and his one of the funny lines in this movie is he mentions that he has this condition called Tourette syndrome, where he shout where he says, "Well, I figured if I fake it, I don't have it." So he's a very he's a guy that has a lot of anxiety, and this was the thing I could relate to.
Okay.
And so I didn't get to see the beginning of that movie until like a couple of years later. But um, yeah, basically he tries to call his new doctor several times, even though his new doctor just went on vacation, and he's trying to talk to his doctor, and because he has so many problems. And then one day he decides to um, um, walk in as a detective and act like and tell everyone that he called that that tell them that Bob committed suicide, and then he wanted to get to know where his doctor was hiding or was going on vacation. So they gave him the address, and then he goes on a bus, and he's like, "Baby steps, get on a bus. Baby steps, get on a bus." And so the plot for the rest of the movie is him um, staying with his doctor at their vacation home. And everyone in the family, his wife, the doctor's wife, and his two kids, they all love Bob, but he cannot stand Bob. It drives him crazy, and Richard Dreyfuss really did a good job portraying the character on how he gets so upset, and uh, it's just hilarious. The way they're always like, Bob! And he's like, oh. So there's a lot of great humor in this movie. And like it drives the doctor insane so much that he literally ties takes Bob to the woods, ties him up to a rope, and then gets two bags of some sort of black dynamite or something, right? And this is where he starts to get a little wacky. And he says, "What is this?" He says, "What is this, Dr. Marvin?" He says, "It's called death therapy, Bob." And so And this is after, see, Bob had drove him so crazy that he was locked up in his room, and then the family told Bob that he needed to leave in the best, nicest way they could, and he said his goodbye, and then that's when uh, Dr. Marvin saw Bob. See, he thought that they were all looking for him together. What he didn't realize is that Bob had already left after before they looked for him. So
Hmm.
what's funny is that Bob thinks that they are phony bombs, and he says, "So these phony bombs are these knots inside me, and I have to untie these knots to break all my phobias and stuff." So he gets out and he says, "Free!" And so he goes to the house, right? And he puts the phony bombs in the house, and he comes out with the cake and he says, "You cured me, you genius!" And he's like, "Bob, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Bob, the bags are on your neck. Where are they?" "In the house." "Why?" And then the house goes kablooey. So,
Man,
so, and then,
it all backfired on the doctor.
yeah, and the doctor doesn't speak for a while, and then more time goes by, which is where the ending is, where Bob marries the doctor's sister, and then that's when, as soon as the wedding's over, as soon as they do the speech where they do the I do's and stuff, that's when Leo says no, and that's the end of the movie where they start celebrating the marriage and stuff in the place where they're actually still the same room where the wedding is. So like the wedding had just ended, the speeches had just ended, and then everyone's clapping, and that's the end of the movie. And then Bob comes out with a book called Death Therapy. This is mentioned through the credits, and then Dr. Leo Marvin is suing him for that name on his book. So
That
it's
is
a bit
hilarious.
so it's a very hilarious movie. It's it's a great movie for the summer. That's how I see it, because it takes place. Um, so they're there for like a month before Labor Day. So like this is like a great August type of movie.
Nice, nice. And I have a question because you talked about the movie sounds hilarious. It sounds like it plays on all the themes really funny, especially with the therapist and patient relationship and them getting very invasive. You said that the character has a lot of anxiety and he's trying to deal with it, and you said you could relate to that. Watching this at 16, right? You said you saw this at 16 years old.
Yeah, so like
At 16, so actually this at 16, do you feel like relating to the character, him having anxiety, you having anxiety, did it help you with your anxiety realizing like what it was?
yeah, like I I have less anxiety than I did in the past, and I don't know. Whenever I watch this movie, I'm like, oh yeah, I get reminded of what the movie's trying to tell you. And so here's the interesting thing: the movie was directed by Frank Oz,
Mhm.
and throughout the movie, you hear a song that sounds very similar to the Yoda theme song.
Oh, nice little
And
Easter egg.
yeah, and that's a thing that that Frank Oz has done in a lot of his movies. There's always some sort of Star Wars reference.
Nice. Okay. Before we get into your adult years, let's see what the chat has to say real quick. Let's see. Collectible Movie Man says he's been watching Yu-Gi-Oh on Pluto. Nice. Um, I am Seth. Oh, I love this movie. It's hard to find a physical release of this movie because Disney owns the rights to it. I remember watching What About Bob when I was younger. If you won't even want to get this movie on DVD, you're paying close to $100 for it, maybe even more. Wow.
Oh, I have the DVD back in
Nice.
2014. I got it at Walmart in the store for $5.
Hey, nice. Good investment.
Yep.
He said, What About Bob is one of my favorite comedies ever. He said, You think he's gone? He's never gone. You see?
That's the whole point.
So she said, voted no because she hasn't seen it. Click Movie said, I do not like elevators. I always take the stairs if I can. Okay. Don't touch my sister. Dr. Leo's so funny. Fun fact about a lot of the tension in the movie is real. They hate each other. They still hate each other to this day. Richard refused to sign stuff attached to it. Oh, wow. I did not know that. Always wonder if
Interesting.
Bob realized Dr. Leo tried to kill him. Therapy exercise. Uh, that's a very interesting question. I wonder if he tried to kill him. I mean, he realized that after when he made the death therapy.
Yeah.
I can relate. I will not go into elevator. The last time I ever did, I passed out because it scared me so bad. Oh wow. I use elevators all the time. I didn't know people had such elevator anxiety. Just seen the DVD 2 times this month for $3 and $1. Collectible movie, man, you're not looking in the right places. People getting it for $5 less. All right. We're gonna move on to your adult years. This is 20 years old, 19 to 20 years old, and current. Adults. Look at all them handsome adults. And the first movie that we have here is American Graffiti, a film that I've never seen, but I've heard of a lot.
Okay, so this is when my dad and I went to see the 3D re-release of Phantom Menace, and they were giving a preview of American Graffiti coming back to theaters, and my dad was talking about that movie and telling me about it. And then
Yeah.
a couple years ago, I finally saw I finally got an interest in that movie because I had just had a few books that talked about George Lucas's career, and they kept referencing that movie. So I was eager to watch it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know George Lucas made another movie before Star Wars. So I watched that, and dude, it's one of my top 5 favorite movies. So like
Nice.
it's about okay, so like this was the first movie where they had the popular music as a soundtrack for a
Mm-hmm.
movie. So like you heard so this came out in 72, but it takes place a decade earlier. Well, no, this came
Okay.
out in 73, but took place 11 years earlier. And um, it's about these 4 characters, right? So you got Ron Howard, who is this guy that's confident. He wants to go to college, but he's kind of on and off with his girlfriend, who's also his best friend's sister. And his best friend is actually a main character played by a much younger Richard Dreyfuss. And Richard Dreyfuss's character is a character I could relate to because he was unsure what he wanted to do in his future. So he talked to other people about what about college and stuff, and he was just so interested in that. And then when he's with his friends in the car, this other car pulls up next to their car, and it's this real gorgeous looking blonde girl that's talking to him, but he can't hear her because the windows are rolled up, both of them. And he's like, and then she leaves. And he's like, what did you say? What did you say? And so throughout the whole movie, he's trying to look for this girl. And then by the end of the movie, he realizes that there are more important things than this girl. So he goes to college instead and becomes real successful. They don't actually, like, they just do the words at the end of the movie where they mention where they all went. And so that's one part of the movie. And then it goes to this other part where uh Ron Howard's character is arguing with is bickering with his girlfriend whether he because she thinks he's going to college for no reason, just to go to college and stuff. And he doesn't understand that. So throughout the whole movie, they're bickering, and then they break up temporarily, and she decides to cruise. So what happens next is Harrison Ford's character pulls up and offers her a ride, and then throughout the rest of the movie, she learns that she actually wants to be with Ron Howard's character, and so he decides not to go to college, and he's going to stay another year. And then you get this other guy who's like the Steve Urkel of the group, minus the stutter, minus the running into stuff. So like, um, he is a character that is a very nerdy guy, I should say, because this takes place back in the '60s. So like, he wore glasses and stuff, and people made fun of him and stuff, and you know, like he just wanted to be somebody, like he wanted a
Yeah.
girlfriend, but he also, yeah, wanted a car. He wanted to be respected, and
Yeah.
so he met this wild girl who was kind of a bad influence on him because, um, see, they he said, "Oh yeah, yeah, I drink alcohol all the time and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, I do all these things." And so he's trying to become someone he's not, right? And throughout the movie, he's standing outside a place to buy beer, and he's waiting for someone to help him get the alcohol so he can impress the girl, right? So that
Mhm.
all happens. And so apparently the guy that helped him was a burglar, but he didn't know that. So um, he got a beer, he got the girl, and then it's about this other guy who likes to do a lot of drag racing because I think this was a big thing back in the '60s, was it? Where they all like to cruise around and race each other and stuff. Um, but he liked racing, and he um, he just liked riding around in his car. And, um, meet girls and stuff. So these girls played a little prank on him. They were driving a car, and they decided to offer. One of the girls offered her younger sister to join him in his truck, and she was very she gave him a hard way to go, and throughout the ride, they became they started to get to know each other, and then he dropped her off, and that was uh, end of their story. And then they all meet back up because some guys are giving the nerd a hard way to go, and then the guy that likes to race came to the rescue, and then um, they meet up at the drag race, and then that's where um, he wins the race, and Harrison Ford loses the race, and she runs out of the car into Ron Howard's character's arms, and then that's where they all decide where they want to go, and then the end of the movie talks about in word description so that the audience can see what happened to them after they went their different ways. So, the guy that raced cars died in a car accident
Jeez.
in the drag race, and then um, Richard Dreyfuss's character did something afterwards, and then the nerd guy he just stayed there, like he he really didn't do anything after that, and then I don't know what Ron Howard's character did, but the point is, it's all this movie is all about coming of age. Like, what do you want to be like? And for me, I've always related to um, Richard Dreyfuss's character. So, yeah, that's
And
what I
this is a
love
film
about this.
that your father loved that he introduced you to, right?
Yeah, but I didn't watch this movie until a couple years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like
And
this,
you saw.
yeah, and so this movie, I like the cinematography they used for this movie. You know, kind of that cool type of retro vibe it has. You know, like I just miss that type of cinematography. Like you don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah. So there's a lot of movies about, coming of age stories and mixture of people. What about this film specifically? Is on why it's on this list above other coming of age movies.
So I like this movie because it starts out they're all hanging out at the burger hop and whatnot, and then that's when they go their own separate ways. So I relate to most of the characters. So like throughout school, elementary, well, I don't know, it was elementary or when I went to that private school. Point is, I was picked on a lot from um, tween years to teen years, and you know, I've always that's why I've always been more of a person that has to prove to people why this is a certain way, why you have to see it differently and stuff like that. You know, so like
Okay.
also I also relate to like I said, the character I relate the most to is Richard Dreyfuss because just like him, see, I relate so much like him because like he I've always perceived him as a character that's never had a girlfriend, just like me, but at the same time, he wants a successful career. He wants to figure out who he is. And that's something I could relate to. Like, um, and that's another thing I could relate to is Ron Howard's character is that he wants to figure out where he is, but at the same time, he wants to take another year to just kind of figure things out. So, um, and the other guy, um, there's not much I could relate to except for the fact that he likes being himself, which is something I've always liked, being myself. So that that's what I like about the movie, and I love the music in the background.
So it's a lot of your specific life experiences being reflected in the film. That's why you picked this one over most coming of age movies.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. See with the live chat saying that I did not like American Graffiti really. I thought it was kind of boring. And the main reason I bought it was because of Harrison Ford was in it, but he's in there for such a small part. Yeah, that's why you don't buy movies from actors. You make sure you kind of like look up what's going on first, because sometimes actors have small parts.
Hmm.
All right, yeah, I'm about to hop out. Catch this rest later. Going to finish Arcane. Hopefully, there's tears of joy when I'm done. CC, thank you for being on live stream. I appreciate you. Enjoy Arcane. Also, good stream, Zach. Kal-El, thank you for being in here. I appreciate you. Have a good time. One of my favorite coming age stories has Richard Dreyfuss is Stand By Me. That's a movie that I saw that as a young child, and it's very impactful. That's one of my favorite coming of age stories too. Coming of age films are some of my favorite. What's the word I want to say? Genre of films.
Yeah.
So a couple of my top 10, 15 favorite films from this year are coming of age stories. So, and the next one is kind of a coming of age story, but more really kind of the Batman. So, talk about why this specific Batman movie influences you so much versus the other Batman films, and how did you feel about this adaptation of Batman?
Okay, so I think this is the best representation of the character. Um, for, and I also think people misperceive Batman sometimes. Like when they say Batman never killed, they mean Batman doesn't want to kill. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't believe in that. Like there are times where he will do in self defense and it will accidentally happen where he will do his best to save them. But if something else happens, it's what think he basically he he recognizes that these guys might have families and stuff. So that's why
yeah.
he doesn't
He
do
doesn't
that.
try to kill. He's not like Punisher or Deadpool or guys like that. He tries his best not to kill anybody.
And what I think Robert Pattinson does so great as Bruce Wayne is that he is playing this jaded character, not the Bruce Wayne that's been played by Keaton or Bale or everyone else. He plays this very jaded character because, like, he hasn't been out in public a whole lot ever since his parents got blown away. So, like, he's very brooding, as Batman should be. You know what I mean? Like, he. What I like about
Yeah.
what I like about this movie is that it, for the first time, this is the movie where it explores all aspects of this characteristics: the detective, the vigilante, and um, also the Commissioner Gordon and the no kill rule, and wrapped up all in one. And I think this is the best Halloween movie to watch because it actually takes place during Halloween, and
It
it makes
does.
sense because like I think the mystery's pretty good. Like even though it starts to get predictable, it's still a really good movie to watch because like Batman is trying to figure out who he wants to be. Like he's this is his second year in crime in fighting crime, and he hasn't done a whole lot of impact. All he's done is he's scared people. Like when I saw that guy wearing the avocado mask or whatever, he looked scared when he saw the bat signal.
He did. You can see it in his
And
body language.
Yeah, and what I like about this movie, they played it like a horror thriller type movie where
Yeah.
they introduce a small monster, that means Batman, right? Where he's not actually a monster, but like he he
It
does
feels like
well
it.
with his crime fighting, right? Like
Yeah.
like he won't kill them, but he'll make sure they're pretty injured so that he
Yeah.
can scare them away. And I thought it was pretty clever on how they made the costume look realistic, but yet it looked like the character. And
Yep.
so growing, so this gave me vibes more of the So as far as the influence, the mystery part reminds me of the '60s and a West show, like in terms of the mystery aspects and stuff, and how he works with um, Commissioner Gordon. And then as far as the crime fighting and stuff, that's more of like animated series as well as the comic books. So
Yep.
like it's it's pretty much the definitive version of the Batman character, and I like how he meets Catwoman. Catwoman's trying to figure out who she is too. You know, like
Hmm.
she's trying to get information, and she's trying to expose Falcone, and at the same time Bruce went. See, they're all trying to figure out this big mystery, and it's all
Yeah.
by the same guy, right? And what happens is that this is very true in real life too, where like it seems like that he has corrupted the police force. But what I like about the movie is that towards the end, Lieutenant Gordon comes out the door and says, "Not all of us are corrupt."
Yeah.
And what I also like about this movie is that like I said earlier, when Batman, when the Batmobile shows up, that's like when the monster is introduced, right? That
Mm.
chase, that
Yeah. The
Batmobile
sound.
chase scene was awesome,
Yeah.
and that Batmobile looks sick. Like I like that design. It looks super cool. I like how he took a souped up car and then amplified it with his Batman stuff on it. And that cinematography reminds me so much of the cinematography
Chef's
they
kiss.
use in American Graffiti, where it's very cool and dark, and you don't see that a whole lot anymore. You
No,
know,
no, you don't see it a lot in big budget films. So in terms of Batman, right? Like we've talked about a lot of heroes, right? We have Luke Skywalker, Buzz Lightyear, we have Obi-Wan and Anakin a little bit. We have Marty McFly. We have a bunch of heroes, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and they all have similarities. But Bruce Wayne Batman's a little different, right? He's a little darker, he's a little bit more brooding. He's not he's noble, but in a different kind of way. He's a little bit more brutal in the way he does his attacks. What draws you to this character as an adult versus what you saw when you were younger with the more lighter characters?
okay, so like I actually got into Batman when I was 5 with the Michael Keaton movie.
Yeah.
So like I so like Batman was like my second or third favorite superhero, but as the years went on, I kind of related to the character in certain ways. Like he as he gets older, like as Bruce Wayne becomes Batman, he has a certain attitude on life where he does his best to
Mm.
be happy when he's around others, but in his private quarters when he's in Wayne Manor, he's kind of a lonely guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Very.
like you feel bad for the guy because he lost both of his parents,
Yeah.
like at a very young age, and so like the fact that he only has a few friends is a character I can really relate to. Also, um, I like how he got his information in this movie, where he showed up as Bruce Wayne, and a little bit as Batman, and he used Selena Kyle, soon to be Catwoman, to figure out what's actually going on. And then you got the Riddler. By the way, some of the scenes with the Riddler were a bit like, oh, didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah. I think I like the unique take on the Riddler a lot. Um, so I love the aspects you brought up about the horror aspect of the film. This movie is severely inspired by like the thriller horror movies like Seven. So the fact that you said Batman is like a monster in the movie, even though he's the hero, but the way they portray him is like a slasher, while also there is also a villain. I thought that was really interesting. Thank you for bringing that up because now that's gonna be in my head. Let's see what the chat is saying, and we're gonna move on to the next adult film soon. Coming of age stories. Oh, hey, 80s kids from the 90s. I have a quick question. Have you seen a Jurassic Park movie? Because I'm reading the books right now, and it's completely different from the movie.
I have seen all the movies. And I gotta say, my favorite one's the first one.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And you haven't read the books, right?
Oh, I read the first audio book, but but like I listened to it before I went to bed, so I didn't get to hear most. I didn't get to hear all of it. I heard most of it, but it sounded pretty cool.
Gotcha. Okay. Nanette picked Christian Bale in the poll, and collectively we picked Robert Pattinson in the poll, but the Batman trilogy is his favorite Batman movies. Okay. That's totally fair. I think the Batman is the best live action Batman movie so far, but it's all subjective. And now the next movie coming up is a movie that I still haven't seen yet, and this is a film that people deem as a classic. It's a coming of age story. It's an adventure film, and that is called The Goonies. The movie. It's a movie that came out very, very young. What about this film now has inspired you and affected you now as an adult?
All right, so I watched it for the first time in 2017.
Hmm.
Um, and I, I loved it. I watched it so many times. I like the story where it's about these kids, these two brothers. They're being forced to move out because rich, these jerky rich people are trying to foreclose their house so they can build a golf court instead. And the movie is about them looking for this treasure so that they can help their dad save the house. And so them and all their friends go on this journey together to find the treasure. And at the same time, this movie has the best intro. Like
Hmm.
the way he breaks out of prison by faking suicide, and the whole scene is hilarious, and the instrumental music matches perfectly with the scene. Like that. That's what I miss about the movies back in the um, late uh, 20th century, like the 70s and 80s and
80s.
the 90s. Is that sure, the movie studios were still like kind of supervising the thing, or like checking in every once in a while. But it wasn't like today where they are constantly saying, "Oh no, 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 you have to do this and this. Oh no, we got reshoots and stuff like this." Like, I'm sure there might have been some reshoots, but back then there wasn't a whole lot like there are today. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people were able to tell their stories when they tell them the way they want to be told, and whereas today I'm just like, I'm kind of seeing some of the same stuff over and over again. It like stories today just feel so more similar than they used to. Like when they back in the '80s, there were so many different types of genres. They were able to tell so many different stories and be creative and use real effects and use props and stuff. Whereas today it's kind of like all limited. Like back in the day, most movie studios, I say most movie studios because Warner Brothers seems to be one of those studios that kind of likes to push and pressure stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that. And so, like, my mess about 80s movies is that the point I'm trying to make is like, you are all today, a lot of the visual effects are just so,
Digital. It's
yeah,
not a lot of practical effects. So watching the Goonies made you remember how much you love practical effects and the old school way of like filmmaking, basically.
yes. And this movie got me hooked, got me to actually appreciate movies. So this is like when I accepted and I'm a movie fan. I love
Oh, okay.
watching movies. Like movies are my ambition and stuff. Like when I want to go see a movie, I want to escape to a world that I've never seen before and be wowed and impressed and be sucked in and be on the edge of my seat. You know? So like I want to be surprised. I don't want to predict the story.
Gotcha. I will say though, as a movie lover, when you watch a lot of movies, it's gonna be hard to be surprised anymore.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, because you see so many, it's gonna be hard for every movie to be original, because there's only so many like stories you can tell. But I understand what you're saying though. A lot of films kind of touch on the same themes, same archetypes, cast the same kind of actors. So I totally understand what you mean by like there's a kind of a lack of special feeling in certain films. There are still very unique films out there, but there's so many films that feel similar. So I get what you're saying. So Goonies kind of reminded you like what a unique escapism would be.
Yeah, it was a movie that reminded me that back in the day, people who were in charge in the movie studios actually cared more about the movies than people in charge today. If that makes any
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't about the bottom line. It was about the art.
Yeah.
Oh, a movie that I like a lot is coming up next, and it's a movie that the movie studio didn't do any justice for, but I enjoyed, and it's a piggyback off of another Lightyear film, another Buzz Light movie, and that's Lightyear from Pixar, a film that I think unrightfully got trashed by reviews.
Yeah. So this this came out in the worst time possible because like we were still recovering from COVID. And
Hmm.
on top of that, Substitute Bob was in charge and
It's too pop.
yeah, had Pixar movies go directly to Disney Plus for free, and they did the worst job at marketing this movie in terms of trying to get people hooked. What I think they should have done is do what they mentioned in the commentary, where they show the scene where Cal Burnside is doing his little hologram thing, saying that Zergbots are attacking and stuff like that. Like, I think they should have focused more on Zerg being a threat in the
Mm.
trailer, and then showing Buzz kind of fighting him throughout the trailer, and then showing Buzz fly. That's how they should have been marketing this. And also, the other fact was, throughout Pixar's career, one thing that has made them get the money is the Disney store. That used to be a physical store, and they had a lot of their stuff advertising for Pixar movies and their other movies. That was a big factor. I remember going to Disney Store. I remember when they opened back in 1998, and then they closed a couple years before Lightyear came out. So the fact that there was no Disney Store selling Lightyear stuff, the fact is one is another thing that kind of um, damaged the potential. And okay, so I've watched this movie like countless times. I saw this 3 times in theaters,
Oh wow.
and then I've watched it at least over 30 times tops. I forgot how much I've watched this movie. I really like it. Now, when I saw the deleted scenes, which is a completely different movie, I'm like, oh, that one fits more in line to what we hear in Toy Story. But then, so like, I would always go back and forth with that. Like, well, which plot do I actually like better? This one, which kind of lines up better, or the one we actually got? And I'm grateful for the one we actually got because it actually fits better with Toy Story. Because here's the other thing people remember: Toy Story is about the character, is about the toy version of Buzz, who already has the information. So picture a movie where, all right, so in the commentary, or no, it wasn't in the commentary, but on CBR or something, Angus McLean stated that in Andy's universe, Lightyear was a trilogy, just like Star Wars was. So
Mm.
picture there's a movie that's about the toy version of Luke Skywalker. He mentions that Darth Vader is his father or something like that, right? And people wait years and then they finally release Star Wars and then they say Darth Vader betrayed and murdered your father. Picture all of the chaotic controversy. You see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's just the first chunk of the story. And I've also perceived this as Lightyear was a movie that came out, and then this other stuff came out after it, like the video game. Like maybe the video game is where they twisted the Buzz Lightyear story a bit to tell a slightly different take of the character's story.
Yeah.
And then maybe, and they said on the Buzz Lightyear commercial in Toy Story, the world's greatest superhero. Maybe he had a comic book too. And then um, there was a Buzz Lightyear Star Command movie, which started the new cartoon. So, like,
Yeah.
the way I've always seen it, it's like that. So, what I love about this movie is that Buzz, he's this very cocky character that we see him in parts of Toy Story, right? Like in Toy Story 2, he says, I'm Buzz Lightyear, I'm always sure. You know, that very
Yeah.
cocky thing where I've got it all together when no, he does not. Like, he does not like rookies. He likes working alone by himself, unless it's Commander Hawthorne, which is his close friend of his, who's also in charge of Star Command. And they crash land on this planet. I've seen some people criticize them for landing on the planet. First of all, the ship they're in looks like a space vessel. It's not one of those beam down type of ships. It's more of the landing type of ships. And then the Rangers go out and scan the area to make sure it's a good planet to live on. Kind of like Star Trek in certain ways, but without um, the teleporters, or what are they called?
Teleporters? I'm not sure what the name is.
Anyway, all right, so like they don't have the teleporting stuff, but the trek part is like where they're like scanning the area like on their little tricorders. Only this is more of a communicator on the wrist on the glove, and I thought it was pretty cool how they fight those space bugs and they try to get out, and the situation looks serious, and Buzz is super cocky, but it's because of him they crash land and are stuck there, and it takes them a whole year for a 4 minute flight to prepare this. And that's when I always pictured what Star Command would look like. The real version of Star Command would look like back when I was like I remember uh, several years ago before this movie came out, picturing how Star Command would look like when they're talking in Toy Story 3. That's how I always pictured Star Command would look like. You know,
Hmm.
some sort of like not the home base of Star Command, but a version of Star Command where they're stuck on that planet. And what I like best is that Buzz is awesome at being this pilot. And then he fails the mission. Well, I thought it's so cool how he's doing math on cockpit, and then um, ejects the fusion crystal, the crystallic fusion chamber thing. And when he comes back, it's been 4 years. Everyone's gotten a bit older except for him. He's only aged a minute or
Yeah.
for a few minutes. So like he comes home and meets Socks, and then when he's just trying to get his people back home, and so Socks throughout all of his missions finally figures out everything. But what's so sad is Alicia Hawthorne won't be there when he succeeds when he finishes the mission. And then that's when Cal Burnside is introduced, and you're like, I don't know if we like this guy or not, because he seems to be harsh on Buzz, giving him a hard way to go. Especially when they come for Socks to bring him back. Remember? They,
Yeah.
yeah. So Buzz breaks out, jumps out the window, like all the cool heroes do, jumping out of the windows. And then he's very Buzz Lightyear like in terms of the way he walks, the way he moves and stuff. Um, and then scanning the area, and then finding the right um, crystal and stuff. So what I like about this movie is that he disobeys orders, right? Like how we mentioned earlier, there will always be a time when Buzz has to disobey an order just to save the galaxy or whatever.
When we were talking about the first movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So Buzz travels 20 years into the future, and he succeeds in getting this uh, mission done right, right? Well, he returns in a world where there are Zerg bots and stuff, and he meets the newer generation of people who are worse. They are not rookies. They want to be rookies. They're working up to that title. And I love it how he thinks they're the best of the best, and then he finds out they are the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And then what I like best is it builds up the tension to Zurg. Like when Zurg first appears, it's very scary the way he goes, "Where's the pilot?" Like they don't like they always show the back of him or a little like they won't show the whole Zurg himself. And then the way I like that Zurg bot chase. And then I like how Buzz learns that he needs to trust other people. He can't always be by himself. He can't always be cocky. He has to learn to
You can't
work
take
with
everything
others.
on himself. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what I love is the little Easter eggs, like the Terrarium um, Center. But I okay now. I thought it was pretty cool on how they created the meat sandwich, and they made a
Mhm.
whole joke about the meat bread. Like, I've actually tried the meat sandwich. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, and
So with
then
this movie, right? So we talked about Lightyear Star Command from the beginning of that was one of the first films we did, and now we're in adulthood, and you're getting a new Lightyear film after all the Toy Story films. Um, uh, what about this film now? Is it just because it's another Buzz film, or is there something that is very impactful for you as an adult? What was that?
okay, so what I like about this version of the movie, which is the definitive version of Buzz, is the fact that Zurg is basically, or a version of Zurg, is from an alternate timeline where he was wronged and everything. Like, he was treated as a criminal and he went to the future and quote unquote borrowed when he actually stole all the technology, including the Zerg suit, which might belong to someone else. Um, all that tech, and then he made some changes and thought, I'm going to try and go back in time and prevent myself from doing that. Well, I'll tell you, he made himself look like a bad guy the first minute he invaded Star Command
Yeah,
when our Buzz arrives. Like, he made, like, to him, he thought he was doing. Well, it's
right.
never right to go. It's never right to get revenge. That's not the right answer. But he became the villain as soon as he invaded Star Command. And when Buzz meets him for the first time before he knows who it is, I like the part where he's like, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" Like, I've always liked those types of scenes, especially when it comes to Buzz, because throughout my whole life, I've always viewed Buzz as the way he was in Lightyear in that specific scene, like kind of like a combination of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo with a little bit of Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
Um, and so like when he finds out who Buzz is, I like how he goes, Dad, and he goes, not quite, and they play that music, and he sees that it's him from the future, and I like how he's explaining the time travel. You're in a new now that's never been lived. What you're living shouldn't be happening, but something like that. And then you start to see what the difference is between Buzz Lightyear and what Zurg becomes. So like it's like these opposites. You got the good, which is our Buzz, and you got old Buzz who becomes Zurg. That's what I like about it. You got two of the same people, but it's like the opposite side of the coin, where one embraces the new, one embraces the new future, and one wants to destroy it all just so he can be a hero again.
So you like that the what if version, the fact that it's a what if version of Buzz. That's what the main thing that draws you to this movie. The fact like the
Yes,
Buzz that you care about versus a Buzz that's like a what if is going against each other.
yeah, I like that he becomes Zurg because it shows that our Buzz, has grown. His character has grown, whereas this Buzz has gone the opposite and kind
Gotcha.
of becomes bitter and um hateful and
Jaded.
becomes a monster. And like he really became a monster when he crushed future socks.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So before we
And
get into the last two films, 'cause we got two more films left. Just want to shout out all my channel members. Nanette Blood Rose, who's in the live chat. Have you seen with T? Seen in a while. Spoiler Kings, we saw Tank Kramer. YK Review, Screen Zen Reviews, Peter Meets Film, Kenny Sparks, Noah Kaiser, The Ace Avenue, and Mama Bear Doll. I think I need to update this. Collector Movie Man is also one as well. But appreciate all of you guys for being channel members and the ones that were in the live stream this whole time. We have two more films for him to break down. So talk about this one. This is another film that I haven't seen yet. So don't go deep into the plot, but let me know what influenced you so much as an adult why you decided to put Ready Player One.
okay, so this is one of my favorite Spielberg movies, and I did not see this in theaters. I saw this a year later, when I watched it on DVD and rented it, and I fell in love with this movie. I loved the way it introduced everything, like the intro and stuff. It 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 captured everything that I love in pop culture through this
Mm,
character. So one thing I've I did not read the book before I saw this movie. It was the other way around. I actually preferred the movie a lot better because I did not finish the book. It was long.
mm,
Um, but the movie and the characters are great. I like Ben Mendelsohn's character. He was this villainous character who knows nothing or very little about the things we all love, but he recognizes that other people do, and so he just wants to own everything or something like that. I don't know, but I like the fact that Steven Spielberg directed it because it's one of his best movies in my opinion. And I thought Wade Watts was such a relatable character.
mm. That's dope. I can see you can see yourself in that because he's you're based on everything. You love pop culture. Like, that's a lot of what we've been talking about. It's been a lot of part of your life. You can see the Legos, the posters, you surround yourself around pop culture, you surround yourself around the lore, and I think Ready Player One celebrates all that in a very unique
Yeah.
way. And you can see like, oh my God, this understands me as a person. So that totally makes sense as a film to be on this list, especially now as little up until now, you see a film thing that you love. Especially since back in the day, people used to make fun of us for loving these things. So for a movie to come
Yeah.
out celebrating it is dope. I love that. And the last movie on the list is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, probably my favorite Star Wars film, and that is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Talk about why this particular Star Wars movie. Why did you see it as later? Well, actually, no, it came out when we were adults. But what about this movie, other than it being a Star Wars movie, influences your tastes or your life, or why it's on this list?
So, like I was saying earlier, this the way this movie was made, I like that type of cinema. It brought me back to when I first watched Star Wars in the first place. So it gave me
Okay.
that familiar cup of blue milk.
I like that.
So where I'm like, all right, this is the world of Star Wars I remember loving. Cause I I'm gonna say this right now. Rogue, I'm looking forward to Skeleton Crew. But until I see Skeleton Crew, Rogue One is better than everything Disney's released of their
Okay.
Star Wars. Like
That's fair.
Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and I like Ahsoka, but I know that's a very divisive show. It's just like I want Star Wars to be like the way George made it, where it was inspired by other things, not Star Wars inspired by Star Wars. You know, like Rogue
Mm,
One is inspired by World War II, right? It's a
yeah.
heist movie, and what I like about what drew me to it is that it took place right before A New Hope, so it's kind of like a prologue
Yeah.
to uh, a, a book that's divided into three parts. And this is the
Yep. And then now
prologue.
it's Andor as a prologue.
And what I love best about this movie, it's great for a person who's never seen Star Wars
Yep.
because it it introduces Darth Vader in a great way and introduces the Empire and the Rebel Alliance. It shows what's at stake, and I like how at the end it lines up pretty good to A New Hope, like where that scene where Vader is just coming at everyone. He's like, "Hey, I I don't want to get demoted. I need that device back, please. I need to make my uh I need to make sure I get the raise and not Tarkin." Like yeah, like the way he's slashing through people to get the Death Star plans. Now, I like how the last guy who's about to die, by the way, gives the other guy the um, uh, plans to the Death Star, and they break away. Like you can tell, the Empire's not done with them because um, for some reason they did not mention this in the movie. You had to read the book Star Wars from a certain point of view to find out. Oh, there's spaceship, the Tantive 4 or the Tantive V. Um, the hype, the the ship's been damaged. They can't go to light speed. I think that should have been included in the movie, but
Mm.
I love how they portrayed Vader. I loved how they introduced K2SO, and I like K2SO. He's probably one of my favorite droids. I love his sarcasm, the way he's like, but then again, I should have stayed in the cockpit as he throws a bomb behind him, a thermal detonator. And I like Cassie and or I liked all the characters in this movie. So yeah, um, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I like it. It's great. It's a
Where
great
would you
Star Wars
rank
movie.
this among your Star Wars films? Your amongst all your Star Wars films, where you rank it?
Number 5.
Number five. Gotcha. Okay. This was great. So we got one more thing we're gonna do. We have all the movies out of the way, going through your cinematic history. We're gonna do rapid fire questions. So are you ready?
Yes, sir.
So answer as fast as you can, okay?
All right.
What's your favorite genre of movie?
Sci-fi.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Toy Story.
What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Oh, the worst movie. Snake Eyes.
Oh, okay. Um, who's an actor that's very talented that no one talks about?
Um, Jaleel White.
Ooh, okay, that's a good one. Do you enjoy movies from other countries?
Um, well, I've only seen ones that are American movies, so but I've heard Godzilla minus one is really good.
It's a great movie. You should definitely look into some more foreign movies. Like you should check out some Studio Ghibli. I think you would love their films based on what you've been talking about. In terms of like the old filmmaking and animation and the stories and the way it had you think about life, I think you would enjoy Studio Ghibli a lot. Um, what do you eat or drink while watching the movie?
Popcorn, and then with drink, it's either a liquid IV or a Coca-Cola.
Right? How long should the movie be? Does the length matter?
The length for me, I'm comfortable with an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. This is a question from the net. Hey, 80 Kids from 90s, would you say that this movie would you recommend to people that did not like the first film?
Which
I
one?
believe you're talking about for Rogue One.
Oh, yeah. I think this is the perfect way to introduce a movie, introduce someone to Star Wars who's never seen it. Because, like, all right, I'm not good. All right, so sequel trilogy is my least favorite trilogy of all of Star Wars, but I know there are some people who like it, and that's cool. But the best way to introduce to someone to Star Wars in the modern time would have to be something like Rogue One, because it introduces you to the Empire and the Rebel Alliance and what's going on. And then after they watch that, they'll go, "Oh, what's after this in the original trilogy?" So, yeah, it's
Um, films are rated for age appropriateness. Do you think that the way we rate films right now is effective?
what do you mean by that?
So, do you feel like in terms of rating, like PG, PG-13, rated R, do you think that these ratings that we have are working? Like, do you feel like when you go see a PG-13 film, it is for people who are 13 or lower? Or do you feel like sometimes it should be higher? Or do you feel like sometimes a movie is not really R-rated, but they put it as R-rated?
Okay, so like I think I think some movies that are PG-13 like Bumblebee I think that's a terrible example of a PG-13 movie because
What's the movie?
Bumblebee, the
Okay.
um, because like there was nothing, there wasn't really any real bad words because in the 80s, if you remember, PG movies used to have some swear words. They just weren't bad.
Yeah.
Like, like they in the Goonies, they literally have words like SHIT or darn it, but not
Yeah.
darn. Um, so like today, um, I think Spider Verse across. I think the Spider Man across the Spider Verse into. I think the Spider Verse movies are are more PG-13 because like there are some darker themes in those movies. Like even though
Mm,
Spider-Man's for everyone, these seemed more of a tween the teen adult audience. Cause like
gotcha.
imagine if a little kid is going to see that and they see that their hero dies at the hands of Kingpin.
Mm.
Like they might get upset or something. And then when Miles' uncle gets killed by um Kingpin's gun, that seems more PG-13 than PG. My
Well, do you feel like something like that's an interesting conversation that we'll have real quick. Do you feel like something like Lion King, which isn't that PG, doesn't Mufasa die in that movie? Do you feel like a kid shouldn't watch that?
no, okay, so let me so I think so what happened in I think a kid can watch Lion King because
Hmm.
like all Scar does is push Mufasa off a cliff,
Hmm.
and yeah, sure, there might be some darker elements, but it's more it's a it's a musical, which which makes
Okay.
it yeah,
It doesn't feel as real. Is
right,
that what you
and
think
they're
it is?
all animals too,
Okay.
so
Gotcha.
it's not like Rapid Punch or Bang Bang.
Gotcha. It's the graphic nature of it, you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That was a good conversation. I'm glad that you brought that up. Because I saw the question, I was like, I never thought about that. So the last question is a quick question. Last fire up question. What's the next film that you're excited to watch in theaters?
Wicked.
Oh, nice. Nice. Okay. Me too. Me too. I'm gonna go try to check it out. Hopefully, maybe in the next couple of days. So, AIDS Kid, this was really, really fun. I loved going through your cinematic journey. I noticed that, unlike a lot of people that come on here, you are very into a positive, escapist um journey, and you love watching those kind of things. You as an adult, I see that you have dipped your toes into some darker themes with the Batman, American Graffiti, but for the most part you love inspiring stories, movies that are going to keep you in a mindset to stay positive. And I think that's really great. And I love that it's connected to your family. You brought up your father a lot in terms of watching it at home or him taking you to the theater. So you're very family oriented as well. And you watch a lot of family oriented movies, which is refreshing. A lot of people that come here, they have like the most violent movie ever on their list, and that's not your thing. And I love that. That's why I love doing this, is talking to people, showing their different cinematic perspectives, and I love how each of these movies has severely affected your life because they are physically in your life, whether they're Lego or you own a physical DVD or you have a poster of the movie on your wall. or you can remember the lines. Like on the thumbnail it says movies are in my DNA, and you were not lying. So movies literally have made you. So this was
Yeah.
awesome. I appreciate you being on here, man. And we're definitely gonna collab soon again. Everybody go subscribe to 80s Kids from the 90s. His link for his channel is in the description below. And everybody be on the lookout for my next movies that made you. I don't remember who it is right now that I'm gonna be doing for December. But I have a list of people that I'm gonna be doing up until June next year. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for my community live stream I'm going to be doing soon. And be on the lookout for my review for Moana 2. See you next Tuesday. 80s Kid, what video do you have coming up next?
Okay, so I've been slacking with making videos recently because I've been taking it easy and stuff. But I don't know. I think I might talk about Wicked uh, um or I might start talking about any of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies since there's a new movie coming out that a lot of people are looking forward to because of Shadow the Hedgehog, who has the best theme song by Crush 40. So,
And let the people know where
um,
they can find you.
you can find me on Discord and on YouTube, and you can also find me on PlayStation Network. The 80s Kid from 96. So that's about it.
Yeah, this was great. Just like Nanette said, great live stream, guys. This is a lot of fun. Appreciate you, Nanette, for being here. Shout out to everyone that was in the live stream, jumping in and out and here for the whole ride. Appreciate every single one of you guys, and peace.
Live long and prosper.
Hey. Oh, yeah, I got it. Can my fingers do it? I did it.